I always have to check this now when we first start recordings because Zoom has changed. But we are successfully recording. So again, welcome to Growing Up Alien. And on today's show, we have a very special guest, Linda, and her star friend, Will. So, our hopes for today's podcast is to begin to show what it's like for people who have these intense contact experiences, because so many people are really having them. And I think that's the main problem with this is that a lot of us don't come forward for obvious reasons. It's like, I'm married to a man from outer space. People are going to think you're nuts. So a lot of us have kept these really phenomenal stories and experiences hidden. And this, I think, it's time for that to kind of go out the window. Let's just say. So we'll be talking. Say this is Linda, and her best fellow name is Will, and we're going to talk about her experiences with him through many past lives, also their current experiences, where we stand now, and how Will was able to successfully leave a difficult situation on Sirius B and get to the moon. But I want to open this up right now for Linda, and she can explain to us when she first started, hanging out with Will.
Well, Will came to me sort of gradually, I guess, in this life because it took so long. It's like, where has he been all my life, I really wish I would have found him sooner, but yeah, so well, I mean that happens to a lot of us, I'm guessing, but like in my case, it was because I just didn't know. I wasn't aware. So it took me a long time to get to that point where I was even aware or attuned with that, or at that frequency where I could even communicate. And so what really helped, I think, was my podcasts with Frank and you, Frank Chili and you, where we talked about you know communicating with star beings and how to do that. And you were very helpful, and Frank was very helpful, and so that helped because then I met Eeka, your man, and that was amazing. And so we did a whole podcast on that. So then that sort of opened the door for me because once I was able to communicate with Ika and telepathically, then I was able to also do that with Will. And that's when he came in. And when he came in basically was when I had my reading with Louise Jones. And she was telling me about him, and I was seeing it as she was telling me, I was seeing it. And the interesting situation is that I didn't realize this, but that I am a projection here of myself on Sirius B, and that's where I was at the time, and so was Will, and a lot of stuff is going down on Sirius B, very similar to what's going on here, but in a different way. So, it, I mean, we needed to get out of there. It was really, really bad, really scary, and so we managed to, but I managed to, but he didn't. He was stuck there, and then he ended up on the moon, which is a long story, but anyway, he went through a lot. He went through a lot, and during all of this time, I was able to, telepath with him, and he was able to eventually, finally visit me. But it took until, he was working for the Galactic Federation before he could actually really contact me and be with me. So, I mean, not physically, he's not physically here with me. It's kind of like the same situation as what Andrea describes with Ika, where, we can telepath, I can hear him, I can feel him. Sometimes I can see him, but it's very limited in these meat suits are very limiting. So I liken it to a hazmat suit where, where you've got the thing and you can't, everything's in the way and you can't, it's just, it's very limiting. Um, and that's kind of what it's like being in this body because you don't normally have that problem outside of this body.
And that's a good point to bring up for a lot of people. I think your situation is a little different from mine, but everybody has this a unique situation.
Right.
And that's what everyone has to kind of, I call it the puzzle pieces. You have to put all of the pieces together in your personal puzzle and not look at other people because everybody has their own experience. And,
Exactly.
I think a lot of people get sort of derailed in this process because they focus too much on the physical. And you don't have to focus on the physical
Right.
because the astral is just as important. And they do a lot of things upstairs in the astral. And you're also
Right.
living parallel lives and there's multi dimensions and all these things. That's the reality. So people, I'll probably share that in a separate podcast where I did telepath with a non-physical group and they explained this. Because I think we've all been through that. It's like, oh, how come this person's getting physical contact and I'm not getting it, or I never had it? And you start, and that's a very ego-based, cabal, deep state way of looking where you're comparing yourself to somebody else. But what they remind us upstairs is that you're unique and your experiences are going to be unique. And that's
Right.
not less than or more than. And it was
Exactly.
Eka and I both, we said that. I think Eka said it in a short little clip I had where it's like, you may not need that physical in your face ship landing in your backyard. You
Yes.
can hear the whisper.
Right.
So they've shifted a lot from the physical contacts that you saw in the 50s and 60s with the Venusians, Howard Menger and all those, Damsky and all those.
Right.
They were not successful and they were particularly damaging, to say the least, and life-threatening to the Terrans or Earth humans that were experiencing this kind of physicality, this physical interaction. So what they switched to was more astral because we were able at that point to understand that. And even though my contact began when I was a baby and I was being prepared for meeting Eka ever since I was a child,
Yeah.
yours was a little bit different where you meet him later.
Mhm.
And when I work with people, and I telepath with their star family, this is not unusual because you'll often hear you got your mainstream, disclosure media, ET arenas where you want to see the bells and whistles and explosions and all that kind of stuff. But um, don't assume just because you're not in the secret space program or you haven't done this or that or whatever, that your experience is less valid because it's not. It's very valid. Every experience is 100% valid. So, having your perspective come forward for other people who may be, it may be in their 60s, who are like, I might have had certain feelings during my life, but I wasn't sure. And now here I am experiencing these. I mean, some of the people I meet with who are in their 60s are having mind-blowing experiences where portals are being opened up in their rooms. And they're going from zero
Right.
to 100. So,
Right.
you know, enjoy the ride.
Mhm.
So, Linda, I'd like to go back to. I always love the way Eka pronounces your name. And every time I see it now, he can't say the L. Oh, Lynn. But he's been really good at opening the doors for people. I don't know how that works, but it seems like once you've made some kind of contact, then the contact come rolling in. And your ability to telepath or channel, as the case may be, becomes stronger.
Right.
It really is something you want to practice in. And as you just mentioned, which is so fantastic from all the people watching, not to get discouraged, but to keep pushing on, keep pushing along, keep pushing. So,
Right. It's
yeah,
very subtle. I mean, that's the thing. You're expecting it to be something that's
no,
going to hit you in the face and like you're, a lot of people I think would think you're supposed to see it happen, in front of you. And I'm not saying that can't happen. It does, but it can come in a very subtle way where you're not expecting it and you're like, did I just hear that? Did I
yeah.
just see that? It's like out of the corner of your eye kind of thing at first,
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
changes, some days I'll be like, I've bilocated, not
Mhm.
me personally, I've been bilocated. And other days it's just like subtle contact. When and from your experience with Will, is
Right.
that I always tell people to maintain that string of connection
Yeah.
to
It
your,
changes.
yeah.
It changes from day to day, like you're saying. It's like you don't even people in your own life, you don't see a lot of people you don't see every day that you're really close to. Like I have really dear friends that I don't get to see. You're one of them. I don't ever get to see you
We never,
except this way, you know. But we still are connected and we still keep in touch. And it's getting to be, I feel like more and more that way where some of the people that we're the closest to aren't people who are literally physically around us.
well, well, there,
So
we're the star, we're bringing more and more people into our particular star team.
yep,
And this is what's going to happen for all the people. They're going to start bringing together their star team.
right.
The strangest ways. And we always celebrate Dave Rossi, who brought us. That was his role incarnation here, is to bring people together.
Yeah, you did a great
And
job.
that's it. Well, you can't screw it up. It's like
Yeah.
it's your job, so you're going to do it. They're going to be upstairs, going to make sure you do it. But one of the things I wanted to mention too was Will's journey here. And you guys have been on Mars together in a past life,
Mhm.
so that
Yeah.
was one aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was right before the war on Mars,
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah.
Um, I had been I had a family there. I had a mother and a father that I loved them very much. It was a great family. And apparently a little sister. Um, and it was beautiful there. Mars was beautiful at the time. It just had beautiful fields of flowers. It was gorgeous. And I liked being out in nature, as I still do. And but I wanted to fly. And because of other past lives, and I know all the way back to the very, very first incarnation, I used to fly. So but I'd fly physically. I wanted to fly in the Galactic Federation. And so I wanted to join so that I could, you know, fly and travel, space travel. Um, and my father didn't like that. He didn't really want me to because he knew what it entailed and he was trying to protect me. But I did it anyway because I'm a rebel.
You
And
also
I
make
still
bad
am.
decisions. You also make bad decisions.
Yeah, well, that too. But I was also a rebel, and I still am to this day. Hopefully, I make better decisions now. But
Not really, because look where we are.
yeah.
Looks
Well,
like that's a no. I know, yeah, yeah.
yes and no, yes and no. I mean, I make good decisions and bad, like just like everybody. But I mean, I don't regret any of the choices I've made, to be honest. In my life here, I don't regret any of them. So I look at them all as like a way that I've learned things. I had to learn things that way, and by through the choices I made, and so I did. But no, I don't, and I don't regret my life here. I actually like really love the fact where I live and the nature that I'm around, that I can be around nature every day, and nature is my healer. So, and I am a healer, so that to me is very important. But in that life, I was really about flying, and I was young, and I joined, and I don't remember how young I was, but I was pretty young, and uh, and that's where I met Zoe because she was also on Mars and a member of the Galactic Federation, and we used to fight together. But um, but at the time there was no war at the time when I joined, and so I joined, and then I got to have a little break. I got to have a little vacation because I'd been good or whatever. So they let me go to Vega and hang out there and just have a nice kind of beautiful vacation where the nature there was pretty too. So I was there, and while I was there, apparently that's when the war broke out, and Mars was decimated, and I had to come back, obviously, to help pick up the pieces. And both my parents were gone; they were dead, and the only one left was the only one left was my little sister and my boyfriend, Will. And apparently we had a pet dog too, like a little tiny dog. So yeah, so that I had to come back, and they were all right, and we just had to pick up the pieces, and that was a crazy week together, that one. But, yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, we all hold trauma. I have trauma from the Pleiades when we were attacked. So
Right.
all these things that we have to work through, and we're kind of finding our way back to some sort of
Yeah.
level ground where we're able to kind of shed. I always call it the Pandora's box of tragedy that you've had in past lives that now I think this is what I've been told by our elders. I think that I hope
Yeah.
so that we're going to kind of take away,
Yeah.
but so once I
It-
mention people's names. So Will is his Earth name. He likes to go by
right.
that. So he's like, well,
Yeah.
who named somebody Will? I was like, well, that's what he wants to be going by. So
Yeah.
Eka gave me his real name is Tiridian. So
Right.
now you know why he wants to go by the name Will. So
Exactly.
that there you know, right? So it's like nobody names an alien Will. I was like, well, yeah, that's his Earth name. So your life with him on Sirius B, which was the current one. So Will was in a very desperate situation there. That night you and I were on the phone together, and he came through. And it was a life and death situation for him. There, he was basically living almost a double life, but undercover. So they were like had feelers out on him. Every night, and I remember him telling me like he's in this apartment. He's very high. It was a very high like spire type apartments, and he was pretty much almost jailed in his own home. And things were getting pretty desperate food wise and everything. So like every little sound, every little he figured they were coming for him. And so when you telepath like that, I hear him talking to me, but I can also feel the extreme like terror that was in his
Yeah.
body and trauma
He's on
that
the run. He's
it
on
was
the
you
run.
felt it too. He shared it with the both of us that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was we had to get down and dirty to figure out what to how to get him out of there alive. And so we had a couple of plans set up. I said, if we can get you to sort of very quickly sneak out of there onto a cargo ship, we can get you to Erra. And on Erra, I have two women in the main city near where I live, where he can stay, and they can kind of, get him back to where he's, relaxed and ready. He was really, I mean, he was a mess. I remember I was almost nauseous that's how much the fear that he had. And I know Linda, you could feel it that night too. It was nauseous. It was horrific. I'm like, wow, this guy's in trouble.
Yeah.
So we kind of just played it by ear, and finally one day, well, what actually the two Pleiadians that I work with, they're physical Pleiadians, but they work with me with energy work. We were able to open up sort of it's not really a portal, but a way, an electrical field where he was able to reveal information to you through
Yes.
this where it would not get intercepted. So they were
Right.
able to set that up for him, and it worked amazing. I'm like, thank God, because I really couldn't hear him too much because he was really couldn't. They were blocking him, and
Yeah.
everything he said, of course, would just make it worse.
It
So,
was interference. Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, so that worked really well. He was able to come through and give us what he needed for information. From
Yeah.
there, I think it was a morning when I texted you and I said, I think he's out. He's on the cargo ship.
Yeah.
So, but he didn't. Well, that before we got to that stage, that was the. I said we can do a healing for you. This. You'll never live this one down. The night we did the
Yeah.
healing, which actually worked. So I worked with two Cobra that I worked with in Egypt when I was a Syrian in Egypt, and Eka was with me that night when Will was going to bed. I said, he's going to go to bed. It's like in the astral form, we'll be able to have these Cobra, try to pull out some of that trauma that he has. It was bad. It was eating him up. I mean, if you're going to die, it's that's like a lot of trauma, So Ika was there, and I said, okay, well, let's. So the snakes came forward, and of course, Will was naked. That was the funniest. But I
As
mean, it
you
wasn't
like
funny,
to be.
I mean, this was a healing moment for him. It wasn't like, well, I was like, oh my God, like, oh, I've never seen that's never happened to me in a healing session. So the snakes were just crawling all over him. They're like, when they were saying venom to venom, so they were pulling the venom out of his body.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my God. Ika, I'm like, I looked away because like, I don't want, I'm like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see what I don't want to see. He's still looking. I'm like, and at first I'm like, oh, poor Will, right? This is serious, right? So I'm like, this is, oh my God. I'm like, wow, and I looked at Ika and he's like, he's jealous. I'm like, you're jealous? What is, I was so mad at him. Like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, stop looking. What are you looking at him for? He's like, I'm like, I'm like, stop looking at him. Like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, there's just the ever since I'm like, no, that you don't, yeah. So, well, that worked because then instead of having Will go to Erra, he was able to hop on the cargo ship right to a GFW ship and, hey, I'm a refugee, take me on.
Yep.
So that worked out win-win for him.
Yeah.
You know, because he's trying to get to you. That's what
Yes.
he's trying. He's
Yes. Except that now he's on the moon, and so I don't.
close.
I,
He's close.
I don't. Well, I don't like it. I wish he was here. I want him
Oh,
here.
well, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest thing for us um, with this stalemate and stagnation
Yeah.
of contact, open contact, right? I mean, people like us don't understand the big deal with open contact. I mean, we understand it's like, yeah, the bad guys, they want to lose all their money and power. You know, we don't give a crap. We just want to be with our family. Um, and it makes it really hard. I think that's the only thing that makes it hard, you know, is not, you know, not having your family with you.
Right. I mean, they're with you, but they can't be with you
Right. You want to have
a
a
lot.
physical, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it was nice when Will landed, and I think I was an afternoon or something, you were on break, and I said, "Oh my God, Will's hatching something. He's got something going." And because of his ability is like an engineer, he's in technology, right? So they were really happy to have him. He was telling me that when he landed on the GFW ship, I'm a refugee. I wanna work, and of course they take him, you know.
Right.
And he really enjoyed the food. He had a small, they gave him a small room, but it was all right, you know. And he's like, "Oh, I'm like, oh, what?" And you asked like, "What kind of food was he happy?" And he's just like, "Food." I'm like, he's like,
It
"Food."
doesn't matter.
He just
It's
food,
food.
right at that point, you know. So they treat him so well, and he just able to kind of like relax. But they put him to work right away, you know. He was ready. So,
Yeah.
but again,
He's a
we're
hard
kind of
worker.
waiting because
That's
he had told me
yeah.
I'm going to try to get to the moon because he's trying to get. So the only way right now, if you are not from Earth and you want to get to Earth, the only way you're going to do that is through the GFW
Right.
or a federation that is working in the military sense around Earth right now because nobody else can get in. You're going to get in, but you're going to have to wait.
Right.
So Will's not waiting. Like I think he wants to be with his wife, right? So from the ship, he was able to get stationed on the moon, where a lot of the technology is was a win-win because he was planning that, and we were kind of waiting for it. It was taking a while. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's taking a little while. And then he said, "Oh, I got something brewing." I said, "Oh, Linda, Will has something brewing." And here's, I hope it's more than coffee.
Yes.
And it wasn't much. It wasn't soon after that where I'm like, he's on the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So he's closer, and I look up at the moon all the time, and I wave at
yes,
him.
I know. That's so nice. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I'd like you to share for our viewers is what does it feel like when you're with him? So how do you know, people who are just working with this for the first time and they're trying to develop their relationships with their families or their husbands or wives or what have you, who are
Yeah.
off planet right now or on planet, as my husband is, but unable to connect, you know, in the physical. What does
I
it feel like?
I would compare it to like what if you have a pet or a cat or a dog, especially a cat, and they enter the room and you feel you don't see the cat right away, but you feel them entering the room, like you feel the presence of your pet, you know they're here, even though you may not see them in the moment. You may be doing something else, you know, but like you feel your cat, and then all of a sudden you feel them, like maybe they rub up against you, and it's very subtle, you know. At least that's the way it is with me. Will I'll just feel him subtly, almost like my cat, like just rub up against me. I'm like, oh, you're here. And I mean, it's a nice feeling, you know. You might feel their breath on you, you know. Um, for me, that's what it's like, a very subtle feeling, and and also the telepathy, because he does speak to me that way, and I can hear it, so that helps. But like
Yeah.
sometimes he just likes to surprise me,
Yes.
not say anything, and just like come up behind me, and I'll just feel like maybe his breath, or I'll feel it like rub up against me, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're here.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's not a creepy. It's not in a creepy way. It's
Oh,
in a nice
I hope not.
way.
You just kill him. Says, "Oh God!" Right? Oh, oh my,
No,
yeah.
I mean he has startled me before, but
Oh
but
well, yeah. I mean, for me, it's in. I can really feel. I literally feel someone behind me. You know, like when you're walking somewhere and you feel like you almost bump into somebody, or like you
yeah,
turn around fast and there's somebody there, and
yeah,
you. For me, that I
yeah,
feel he's a solid form, and I can see him behind my eyes. I see what he's
yeah,
wearing. I
yeah.
can see everything. So usually he'll
I
just
think
yeah
you're a little bit further along than I am. I'm probably going to be, this is so new to me that I'm just sort of, you know, coming into my abilities or whatever.
yeah
But I'm sure that eventually I will be able to. But at this moment, I don't, I just catch glimpses, but I don't
yeah
really
sure
actually see,
yeah
like you do. Um, but yeah, yeah, and I think he's subtle with me on purpose because he knows that it's new to me and he doesn't want to, you know, startle me too much.
yeah
But he has done that.
yeah yeah. And everybody's senses are different. Now, some
Yeah.
people, we know Ivanilda, and we're going to have Ivanilda on the show. Ivanilda and her Pleiadian husband. So Ivanilda connects through movement, through dance.
Yes.
So, and that's very rare, but there are people who connect through movement. So that's something that people want to consider. Some people are clairsentient, so they feel. I
Yeah.
think
I'm
particularly
more of a,
those of us who are Ahel. So
yeah,
I
I'm
can
more of
feel him like
a
he's,
clairsentient.
yeah,
Definitely. I feel
yeah.
more than more than anything, but I
And
also
then
hear and
people who are
yeah,
claircognizant, they're gonna
yeah.
they're gonna
And
feel more mentally.
I
You
do,
have people who are
I
going
do
to
see
see.
a little bit, not like you,
Yeah.
like I'm not at your level yet, but
Well, no, I mean it's not. It's
I'm
just like
getting
your
there.
body. It's
Yeah.
like the way I always describe it. It's the way we taste food. Everybody has a
Yeah.
different way of tasting.
There it is.
There is no.
Yeah.
It's the way that
I
works.
just,
You know.
and I just feel like you do, it's just like any kind of gift or talent where the more you use it,
Yeah.
the better you,
Yeah.
the more, strength you have in it, the more
Yeah.
it comes through, the
Yeah.
stronger it comes through. And
For sure.
like another thing is music. When I play my music, I feel him. With me. So
Yeah.
that's
That's
really,
wherever you feel this, whatever, when you're doing something where you can feel that you're getting a stronger sensation through the quantum entanglement, then that's where you want to keep exploring those. Now, of course, Eeka and I have been together since I was a baby,
yeah,
where I feel like Will kind of allowed you to have a life. And everybody's different. Maybe you
that's
told
very
him you
true.
wanted to have more of a time here to kind of feel, and it makes sense because if you are in heavy contact as a child, it does make life here a lot more difficult. Like, for me, I never had a boyfriend because I've been married when I was a,
Right. You
I've
have to
already been
expect it.
married. So it's like I
Yeah.
can't connect that way. So it's a weird situation for me.
Yeah.
Where, because I have, you know, I don't know, actually a soulmate, it's like I had a soulmate my whole life that wasn't there in a way. And there are people I know that are like that because then you're seeing it, and we'll talk about this in other, I don't want to, get into a lot of that stuff, but just to put it out there for some people who may be like, oh, this is something I've experienced. So you're
Right.
not different, you're, this is just how this played out. And of course, it just gets complicated in some of these situations where people do get married here on Earth, or they have a boyfriend or girlfriend here on Earth, and then they meet their star boyfriend or girlfriend. And it isn't always heterosexual. I want to be clear about that for people as well, because upstairs, people also have, homosexual relationships as well. We just upstairs is not considered a big deal like it is down here. It's
Right.
natural.
Yeah.
So that happens as well. But yeah, I mean, I just want so many people and to experience this kind of beautiful love
It
that
is.
it just changes your world.
Yeah, it does. And it sort of, I mean, like once, like they say, what is it? Once you go black, you never go back. Once you go this way, you never go back. It's
No, you
just,
never go back.
you just can't. Like
Yeah.
there's no human that can be like this. So it's
Well,
just,
I think, and that's because that's your, that's your soulmate.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
why
And
would you want anybody else when you have a soulmate? It's your soul. That's your soulmate. I mean, you can't,
yeah,
you
and
know,
you
it's
realize that you've had other lives together,
yeah.
experienced this before, and then you realize that okay, this is something very special that I want to find. But,
Yeah.
well, we should probably wrap it up because
You should because we have a meeting. We have a meeting. But anyway, what I want to say is I'm going to put a link in below so that folks can find Linda's really neat podcast potentials. We've had some great people on there like Chris Beskar. I mean, a really, really
and you
intriguing series. I
and
mean,
Frank
it's an
Chili,
intriguing
Frank.
series, So I'll put that in the comment section. So
Thank you.
definitely we want to hear from folks. Our channel is not exclusive. We want to be inclusive. And if you have a story that you want to come forward with, or you just want help in navigating, your relationships with off-planet family members, we're here for that too. So I'll put a link to my Facebook page as well in the bottom there, so you can, talk to me, message me on Facebook. And if anybody wants to contact Linda right through me, you can do that as well. So, well, as we always say, see everyone upstairs.
Ciao for now.
Bye.